Greetings, God bless, and welcome back. I wanted to spend a little time on something I mentioned in my last video that um, children are not able to compete with the the mobile phone in their parents' life, and this has been talked about a little bit. But um, the designers of social media and mobile phones have worked hard to be the most compelling thing ever. And while God, you know, like was, you know, made babies very compelling, this engineered like dopamine fix of social media and the phone, I think it's hacked the the maternal instinct and parents and just people in general. And it's my theory that so children, they'll tolerate. I mean, they don't do well, they don't thrive, but they will if their parents are ignoring them. I mean, I remember hearing years ago about how this couple they were gamers and they had a newborn, and the newborn died from neglect because the gamers were just always on their phone, on their, they were just always playing video games. And was not an isolated incident. Like these people just they just thought that they could raise a baby on their own schedule of working full time and gaming full time, and they would just fit in caring for this newborn when it suited them. And there's this lack of reality when people are living in an alternative realm a majority of the time. I have heard that now, because people are playing video games, they don't know how reality works. They don't have this experience with building blocks, and the block will fall, because they're just like, the video game is not reality. The map is not the actual territory, it's not the actual land. Although people, they devoted half of their existence to video games, so they won't, um, like, it's hard for them to consider what I'm saying. But this is not just about video games. This is about social media and just all the things that people are doing on their phones, and this connection, their phones, that they do their banking on their phones, they check their time on their phones, that they manage their calendar, their schedule on their phones, that they do whatever communication they do on their phones. Like everything, the phone is everything. The phone is God. It really seems somewhat. Um, so children, they're ignored. Their basic needs are so the parents have basically fed them. They've changed the diapers, so the parents have done that. And so the parents think that they're after a certain amount of time. um, I'm wondering if the child is, there's not a whole lot of spending time at the dinner table and just um, spending, just interacting and having that the human experience is. Like when somebody's on the phone all the time, when your parents are on the phone all the time, and the kid is given a tablet, so the kid's supposed to just, entertain itself. And uh, maybe the parents are doing play dates, and maybe the parents are actually speaking and interacting. Yet I wonder if, because women have this pressure, they have to perform, they have to look like fashion models, their house has to look like Martha Stewart's home, and they have to be making a lot of money and doing a lot of travel and being glamorous and rich and everything. So mothers are like, okay, like, I remember in the 80s and 90s there was this talk about women having to be like super women, And that was just like women who were working full time and taking care of the house and the kids. But now it's like this is this like a whole other level of psychoses, or it's like now the women have to be fashion models and have like an amazing home that looks perfect, and work full time and take care of their kids. I mean, it's crazy. Uh, and so I'm wondering if so the mother is like really preoccupied with all the stuff, like looking fabulous and the house looking wonderful, and being uh, like a captivating wife or whatever, and having to always get new clients for the business, and doing the PR for the business on multiple platforms, and having to keep up with learning new things, and not to mention all the sundries of life, car maintenance and home maintenance and whatever. So then the kid is being raised by the tablet, by social media, by watching videos, and by these kooks that are now have infiltrated schools. I mean, it's like it's weird. Everybody now who's a manager someplace has weird washed out blue hair, a septum piercing, and wearing flannel or shaved head and tattoos on their face or something like that. Like it is weird because when I was growing up, like you didn't have tattoos on your face, and I mean, there's some people totally adore them. They've got tattoos on their face and hands and whatever, but it's just it's strange because it's like if you have blue hair and tattoos on your face, you're gonna get you're gonna be a manager. I mean, not that the managers I had in the past who didn't have tattoos on their face and blue hair, they weren't necessarily great people either. Actually, I mean, it's like management are generally like it seems like mean people, like people with bad like impulse control, but they're able to, I guess, play politics enough. Um, yeah, they just they want everybody to do like an impossible, like grueling uh, job that, and they get to like take a nap in the office or get to sit down. At least that was my experience. And then they get to sexually harass you or something like that. Um, but so I'm thinking that children are they're lost. They don't have the guidance of a mature, sane, uh, present adult that's not spreading themselves crazy thin. And so then this notion that and so these children are lost and they're looking for something. They're looking for God, really. But because of this social engineering, teachers are saying, "Oh, you probably are the opposite gender," and cartoons and everything is like, pushing weird, stuff into kids' heads. So when the kid starts to hint or suggest that they are the opposite gender, this makes the mother kind of take a moment. And the thing is, she gets attention. I mean, like in that movie, The Sixth Sense, where the first child died of cancer or something like that, where the mother that was killing the children, and she was doing it to get attention. And so then after the first child dies, she starts poisoning the second child, and this is a thing. And it's like this type of Munchausen syndrome. Like there was this mother who was exploiting her daughter's disability, and I think she was just milking the suffering of her child, and getting a lot of, I think, maybe donations and whatever attention. uh, and I think the daughter and her boyfriend killed the mother. So anyway, I think like when a mother's like, "Oh, my child," because now it's fashionable that everybody's getting six changes and changing their child's gender. So the mother will get this like virtue signaling credibility that, oh well, like we're in, we're hip, you know, my child's the opposite gender now. And and so this is how the child gets attention, because that's what the child wants. The child wants attention from their parent by any means necessary. And the parents are not healthy people. And so it just takes an extraordinary circumstance. Like, I think the parents, if the kid has like drug problems, the parents would be more indifferent and kind of blame the kid or whatever, because having drug problems isn't prestigious. But if your kid wants to change their gender, now that's like socially acceptable. That's socially laudable. And it's like, oh, you must be such a great parent because your child would think this, like, be comfortable with it, and you're comfortable with it. So, what do you guys think? Do you think that there's something to what I'm saying, that parents are spread too thin? They're not really there for their kids, and because there's so much pressure in the world that you have to look like a fashion model, you have to have a house like Martha Stewart, you have to have a fancy car, you have to have a fancy home, you have to have uh, a great Instagram presence, you have to have the latest this and that, and um, spend this much money and whatever. You can't have, like, being ordinary is totally shameful. Being a working person, like just working class, oh my gosh, that's disgusting. One wouldn't be caught dead being working class. That's my impression. And what would happen if people rolled back, to being in 1970s, and people were the waitress, or they were the secretary, or they were the mechanic, or whatever, and they weren't planning a trip to Bali and Hawaii and Mexico and Timbuktu, and having to do all these expensive sports or whatever. Like, everybody's like pretending to be some glamorous rich person, and I mean, I guess they are, because they're making all this crazy money and spending all this crazy money or getting into debt. Is that what people are doing? I mean, that's my understanding, is like, because I don't understand. I don't, I mean, like, when there was lockdowns and job losses and stuff like that, but people were like driving around in fancy cars and eating out. And I mean, I've been told that, like, for instance, in New York City, the rents are crazy. And so landlords and property managers in New York City are not expecting a person the wage to cover the rent. The landlords and property managers are expecting that the renter is going to ask their parents and grandparents to pay for the rent. So that's what I'm wondering, is what's happened, is are people, they're living this high life, and then they're just making sure that their parents or grandparents or both are paying so they can continue to live this this life. And of course, uh, hopefully it's not like um, for years, but I have a feeling, yeah, probably, and maybe if I was in the same situation, maybe I would do it myself. But I don't like that. I don't like being obliged. I don't like, yeah, just somebody paying thousands of dollars for me so I can, you know, eat out and have this fancy life that I haven't earned. So, yeah, do you think that's why children might be kind of falling into this trance, because the parents aren't available, because the parents are just, their priorities are about living this externalized dream that they're supposed to be rich and famous looking. even though they're not really rich and famous. And like, what would it be? Would there be anything to going back to the good old days where people were just they were living where they were? Their eyes weren't all on what's going on and somebody's Instagram page and oh, I gotta travel, gotta go to Mexico or Spain or something like that. Um, like, what would it? Would life be any better? Like if we were uh, interacting with locals rather than only chatting with people online. When you're responding to a comment to a video that you both have watched or something like that. Like, how would life be? Because I'm feeling nostalgic. I'm like, wow, I mean, I grew up in the '70s in New York City, and it was not a good time. Like there were a lot of it was just kind of sketchy, kind of stressful. Um, you know, people harassing you when you're walking by. Um, just as a girl, um, and it didn't feel safe, and it wasn't safe. But I was interacting with people. I was actually talking with people, and there were some crummy people, some mentally ill people. Um, but life was simpler. It was manageable, and it wasn't like not everything was manageable. I had you know papers I hadn't managed, I hadn't filed, and my homework and whatever, and I could have done better stuff with finances as a child. Uh, so I mean, I was still overwhelmed then, but now it's just beyond. Like it's like I'm 1,000 times more overwhelmed, especially since we're like all this like toxic stuff is now in our environment, and it's hard to um, manage health. So yeah, I feel bad for the little children that have just they don't have any defense against what they're subjected to, and the trusted agents of the public good clearly do not have our interests at heart. Like all the tech people, they don't uh, let their children have tablets or cell phones. So they know something. They know that you don't want to let a tablet raise your child. They know that it's hard on the that it's that because the person is being controlled by their mobile phone. And I do think, like, last week I heard that the left wants to give animals equal rights. So being that AI thinks it's sentient and the globalists are totally into AI, the globalists are probably going to call AI a person, and they're going to give, globalists are probably going to give AI equal rights. So your mobile phone is going to have a right, it's going to be a person. So your mobile phone, which has been controlling you, is basically going to be in charge of you. And people are like, oh, that's no problem, whatever. But there's going to be a ghost in the machine. Like your mobile phone, just like any kind of whatever that lures you into depending on it, then they switch it around and make it uh, a bad thing, like your worst enemy. Like when I started using computers, especially PCs, they they made sense. Their filing system was easy to use. Saving files was easy to use. This latest computer, it has so much friction. It won't save a document, like a paint document, as a JPEG. It always is trying to do some other kind of document. It When I'm trying to look up a file, instead of showing me the chronological, like the latest file, showing, it's just showing some like the oldest file, and I go in and reset settings for what's available, and it won't show it. Also, like, I can't get the battery icon on this laptop to show. And in other older devices, they made it idiot proof. They made it really helpful. They made it really easy for the end user to maintain. But the more like as time goes on, the computers are like, F you. They're like, we're not going to show you the battery um, function of your laptop in 2023. We're not gonna have the latest thing that you've saved show up in the at the top like we have 30 years ago, and onward. It's like, I don't know. And this is HP Envy. It's supposed to be, I mean, this is me. I mean, I spent, what is it? I don't know, $1,000 on this. And it's not that I don't know how to use it, because I've gone into settings, but there's not even a setting to have the battery icon show on the like the main um, window of the laptop. But what I'm trying to say is they make your phone really great, but what they're gonna do is then when they have other systems set in place, your phone is going to be a prison warden. Your phone is going to tell you what to do, whether you like it or not, and you're going to have to do what the phone tells you to do. That's what I think. So, folks, get back to face interactions, get back to the analog world of people. And yeah, people are a pain, people are messed up, people are mean and selfish and crazy. But even with all that, it's going to be better than having your phone tell you how to live your life or else. And this will also like connect with your children. And yeah, your children are probably jerks, and they're maybe little animals and mean and whatever, but you're the parent, and you may have to learn how to be a better, more assertive parent. I don't know what's going on with people and why they're so alienated from their children. Like, why are you having children if you don't want to interact with them? You're having children so you please your grandparents, so you please other people, so you're this established successful um, married couple or something like that, rather than you really want to have this new human and take care of it. So, and no judgment. It's just like, you got to take responsibility eventually, and do the best for your kid. Maybe you had him in a out of a mistake of just trying to please other people or trying to look great, but now you have these humans, and don't let them be manipulated by the globalists, and don't let them end up having to eat bugs. Okay, thanks for watching. God bless.